Thank you, Harry.
Okay, it is 5:15 on May 5th, 2025. I'll call the select board meeting to order. Any additions or deletions to the agenda?
I would like to request that we add Drifters Boathouse LLC liquor licenses under 13 liquor licenses.
I'll make a motion to adjust the agenda to include those.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Motion carried. All right. Bill. Who billed for payment?
So who's the second on Harry's motion?
That was Joe.
Okay.
Make a motion to approve today's warrant.
Claire seconds. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. Pass this around for signatures. Okay. We have a financial snapshot. Thank you, Lisa, for providing that. Are there any questions or discussion?
I have a question, but it's not on the financial snapshot, it's on the budget actual,
Okay,
public works,
yeah,
and it is under overtime. And we're twice the amount we budgeted. And I'm wondering, is that because we didn't have an assistant at the beginning of the year? And Tracy had to work more, or, should we be budgeting differently?
well, I've spoken to Tracy on that as far as to watch that, and Lisa and I have had discussions about it. But what we're going to try to do here is that, of course, it's the winter time there that cranks all the overtime, I mean, the majority of it. And what I would like to see done is that perhaps some way to allocate the time a little bit better so that we're not running into overtime. We will have some overtime without a doubt, but I did speak to Tracy, during this season here to say, well, if a snowstorm's coming in on a Saturday or whatever, then perhaps you want to limit your hours on a Friday or whatever, and make sure you're prepared for the snowstorm. And then when the snowstorm hits there, we have to go out there sands, whether it's a storm or drifting or whatever. So hopefully we can pull that into line, a little bit better here. So, because it was an expensive year.
Well, we had a big winter too.
Bigger than the past few, yeah. But, does that sound all right, Lisa? Sounds great, right? Good. All right. Okay. Any other discussion on the snapshot? Okay, we've done the warrant. This is the time there for public comment, for anybody that would like to make a comment. That we can possibly put on future agendas. Is there any public comment? Hearing none, moving on. Planning Commission, we have the DRB regulations update. Andy, I believe you will present that here.
There's some folks here, I don't know. I'm Andy Ollie from the Planning Commission.
No, bless you.
And I rounded off.
Pleasure, okay. So, I handed out a draft report at the beginning of the meeting. So it's really just to give you folks an update. The comprehensive development review or development bylaws were enacted earlier last year. And we got together with the DRB, certain members, and decided to let those run out for a few months to see how everything went. In the course of that, we've had meetings with the DRB and the shoreline subcommittee. And we've come up with a few changes that have been recommended, and they're summarized on that sheet. So if everything goes according to plan, at our next meeting at the end of this month, we will consolidate all of those into one document. We plan to have the planning commission public hearing in June. And assuming that all goes well, we would turn it over to the select board. So I just wanted to give you a heads up that's coming. Once it goes to the select board, similar to the last update, you'll have like 120 days for your first public hearing. And I think 1 year to take action in whatever. Now, we think these are all pretty minor clarifications. You know, it's not like the last batch of updates we did. But you never know, things can take on a life of their own as we go through this. So I was, you know, you had a chance to look at it. Does anybody have any specific questions on the items there? Again, you'll have plenty of time to consider it as we go through the process.
Yeah, I would say just whatever you guys come up with there, that gets passed along to us and
Yeah.
we'll review it.
And then these 8 things are what's gonna be on the public hearing in June.
Yes,
Okay, great.
yeah, and then, like I said, we'll have one document that'll show the
Yeah,
details
yeah,
of all
yeah,
those.
yeah.
Yep. That's where we're at right now.
So has it been, is it more for clarification purposes or is it a total rewrite?
No, it's mostly clarifications. We'll, like I said, we got input from the DRB and the shoreline committee. Shoreline committee, basically, all they did was suggest that we add some references to different requirements, that sort of thing. They made no recommendations regarding increased enforcement on the part of the town. DRB really was just clarifications to help them out. So I
Okay,
think it's all pretty minor and non-controversial, but we'll see as we go through the process.
What one can hope.
Yeah, one can hope.
okay.
Okay, so that's that. The planning commission was asked to discuss whether or not somebody applies for a zoning administrator appeal of a decision and whether they should be refunded if the decision is overruled.
Oh,
We did not take any action. We did talk about it. Reason we took no action is nobody stepped up and said, yeah, we should give the fee back. I mean, the fee represents a legitimate administrative cost. You know, all of our other fees are non-reimbursable. You know, if somebody pays the fee for applying for a building permit and they end up not getting the permit, they don't get the fee back. So we kind of put it in the same place as that.
And that's consistent there with other towns.
Yeah, Greta Brunswick from the Regional Planning Commission happened to be at our meeting, so we asked her for input. She was not aware of any other towns in this area that refund the fees.
Mhm. Well, there's administrative costs there for sure,
Yeah.
so.
And you know, if the ZA were making arbitrary or specious decisions, that might be something else, but that's not been the case, obviously, so. So we decided to take no action. Leave our recommendations as is. Okay, certificate of occupancy. This was a question that came up recently. Can we rename the certificate of occupancy to certificate of completion? Because there's questions regarding certificate of occupancy and what our actual obligations are when we issue them. Simple answer is no. The certificate of occupancy is referenced in the state statutes. So we kind of have to do that. One thing we did learn, and it changed, that I talked to Danielle, is we are only required to issue a certificate of occupancy for principal structures. So from this point forward, that's what we'll do. So in other words, we will not have to issue a COO for a garage or a shed or anything like that. We had been doing that in the past, so. Just because that question had come up, I just wanted to bring it up here.
If the garage is attached to a primary structure,
I guess if it's a whole new structure, then
but if you're adding a garage onto a primary structure,
I would say not.
okay.
But if you're putting an apartment in the top of
Yeah,
the
yeah,
garage,
yeah, an apartment, an accessory dwelling unit, absolutely does need a certificate of occupancy. So like I said, I've gone over this with Danielle, we've reviewed our regulations to make sure it's consistent with that. So that's how we will proceed.
Okay,
Okay, town plan, and again, just for information, our existing town plan was implemented in 2020. Technically, we don't have to update it for 8 years until 2028, but the planning commission's been discussing this in light of the significant legislation that's been passed on the state level in the past few years. The fact that the regional planning commission is updating their plan, we think it's a good idea to start that process early. So we're going to apply for some funding through a grant. And if everything goes the way we hope, that money should be available this fall, which is good timing for the planning commission. So bottom line is we would like to start reviewing and updating our town plan this fall. The funding would allow us to hire a facilitator to help us through the process, and it may be somebody from the regional planning commission. In the process, I think it's probably at least a year process to go through that, so. And from a personal standpoint, I really want to try to get as much input from the town as possible as we go through that, see what people really think, what they're looking for, so. Again, that's just a look ahead. And then finally, new FEMA flood maps, and I want to say right up front, I'm not an expert on FEMA or any of this, and I'm not even sure how I ended up being the person to pass this along. But there had been new FEMA maps issued. Carl and I went to a web presentation probably a month ago, which I didn't find particularly helpful. But bottom line is FEMA has issued new flood maps for North Hero. Had a chance to look at it. There's a website that I have a link to if anybody wants to see it. But first comment I'd like to make, right now FEMA is only looking for comments from town officials. So these maps are not available for the public to review at this point. So we have until May 16th, to provide any comments that we town officials have to FEMA. So I've reviewed it. Fortunately, Patty LaBounty from DRB was around. Sean from the Regional Planning Commission was here looking at the maps. With her real estate background, she had some good questions, and she's gotten into it deeper than I would have been able to. Bottom line is, and Carl had a look at the map this afternoon, the Regional Planning Commission got a poster size map printed out for us, which is downstairs. Any of you are welcome to look at that. I saw, and Carl saw nothing that really jumped out to look out of line as far as, where the identical flood zone zero. Patty did some checking, not every property, obviously, but some checking at various places around town. Everything looked pretty reasonable to her. One thing we did learn, I just found this out after you and I talked, Carl, the base flood elevation, which is the 100-year flood, has gone from 102 to 102.4. So whether or not that has a significant impact on any of the properties, I don't know yet. But anyway, Sean from the Regional Planning Commission, did a nice job putting this map together, and again, it's down there, Corinne, I think, has it, so if anybody wants to stop by and look at that. If you do have any comments that you think should be passed along to FEMA, let me know. Excuse me, say by the 14th, and I'll get our comments in by the 16th. Other than the change in base flood elevation, we didn't really have a lot of other questions. It was a question regarding if a lot is considered in the flood zone, how do they make that determination when there's various contours within that lot? So that would be a question we would have to do. And that's, oh, and then there's probably a dozen or so structures in town that have gone to FEMA in the past. And my old place was one of them that were determined to be in the flood zone, but if you have a surveyor come in and say, no, it's high enough, you don't have to get flood insurance. It's called, I think, a letter of map adjustment. So there's about a dozen or so properties in town that have gotten that. And Patty found that list on the FEMA site. So they're obviously aware of it. The question is, has that been taken into account on their new flood map? So those are the questions or comments we've had so far. So invite any of you to take a look at it. If you do see anything that jumps out at you, let me know.
All right. Thank you, Andy. Anything else for Andy?
I just have one question. We've come up with a new town plan. Now the regs flow from the town plan, right?
That's exactly right.
So when we adopt a new town plan, then you go back and look at the okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's a whole.
Yeah, the town
yeah.
plan provides the foundation for the
Right,
regulations.
right. Okay.
All right. Thank you, Andy. E911 coordinator. We have a letter of resignation from Bob Ayers. And we need to take a look here as far as the advertise. Take a look at the hours and salary requirements or hourly rates. So. Any questions on that? Corinne has,
Bob's done most of the work, right? I mean, anything else that comes up with the E911 coordinator would be adjustments.
yeah, I mean, you can take a look here. I mean,
Yeah.
if you take a look over the years.
Yep.
The hours that were put in. Now, where we have to watch this is that because of changes in the state, like with Act 250, and with this push there for more developments and whatever, that could require some more hours, but I think we've always based it on 40 hours a year roughly.
I don't know.
I think that's
Do you know
what's in
that from
the-
a budgeting?
is that in the
perspective?
budget?
Or it's 1,000, we just budgeted.
We budget 1,000 and yeah, so, and the hourly rate was 15, so, you can see there, COVID there was a big year. COVID, 22, 23. So anyway, any suggestions, recommendations? We just advertise. You wanna go ahead and advertise for that opening?
I think so, I mean. Just trying to think if this would. Maybe attract more people if it was, I don't know if we need to retool things, but. We've had some difficulty filling open positions recently.
Yeah. We do have a couple
Does it have to be a
Potential.
resident?
Mm,
No,
of, have to be.
What happens without one?
You guys become the coordinators.
De facto.
It's a position required by statute.
Right after the trash.
It's important to have one.
Okay, yeah, let's advertise.
Do we have a job description?
The state does.
We do have a couple of potentials. So, this was asked here just to let you know there that, it was looked into as far as to possibly have the ZA
That's the
this.
first thing that came to my mind, but
But the cost is about triple, it's gonna be about triple what we have allocated right now.
Yeah.
And according to my sources there, Danielle wasn't like all gung ho about it, so. So I mean, it's,
She was willing, but there were concerns about time constraints.
right,
mm,
so. So anyway, yeah, why don't we, Corinne, if you don't mind there, just holding that up from the state there, where everyone can advertise that. Okay,
And perhaps we could look at the hourly rate at budget time again, because we could raise the hourly rate and still be within the $1,000
Correct.
budget,
that's correct.
you know, which might attract more
um,
people.
The 911 coordinator is also, I can't think of the right word, but they're entitled to reimbursement from mileage. Primarily what they do is go around and do the measuring.
Yeah.
So, and I believe, does that come from that $1,000? I don't know if Bob ever, but that's part of it. I think that's why it's always been more, is, you know, that's what it could be. The $15 and the potential.
Mileage.
Yeah, but you're right, we might get somebody like Bob who semi-volunteer basis. So it's good to shoot high and then have plan B.
Well, I mean, if we just take a, you know, if you say they're, let's say roughly 40 hours. 40 hours a year there, and then even if we up it to $20 an hour, it's $800, and then if you had to pay mileage.
Be getting close to the 1,000 if they do the
Right,
40
so,
hours, yeah.
I wouldn't have any objection to $20.
yeah, I don't have an objection, why don't we have a motion to that we raise that to 20?
I'll make a motion that we increase the 911 coordinator's hourly compensation rate to $20 an hour.
Do I have a second? Is there a second, Tim?
Yeah.
Tim seconds, any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries.
Bob's gonna be really upset.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. well,
Exactly what was going through my mind.
Maybe Bob will throw his hat in the ring. So. Okay. All right. PBRA, Mark, you are up. We have a new draft here.
Lee and I went through the old one, it was issued 5 years ago and made some adjustments to that. But current term. And as I understand, maybe you have some additional questions for us.
Well, I have a question right off the bat. And being there that this lease runs for 5 years. I'm not sure how much administration goes into this. But I'd like to hear, you know, from, well, possibly Lisa and definitely Corinne here as far as whether or not that gets upped a little bit, you know, and it's just because it does go for 5 years, so.
Right.
So, Corinne, would you like to speak to that, or?
Sure, from an administrative standpoint, we process payroll and we coordinate the insurance review and coverage. and we're responsible for any of the DMV, basically inventory of the vehicles. So there are definitely, Lisa has to do quarterly reports and work with the treasurer, and now the state is requiring PBR grants to come through the town. So there, which they always came through, but we have to do a little more support in the processing end. So there are administrative asks of our time, which is why this fee is in here. We get an annual 3% cost of living increase that isn't anticipated in this lease. I don't know if you have any input on numbers.
Well, would,
Our cost goes up every year regardless.
Right, right.
It has been anyway.
well. And so my big question is here is to say, well, do we change this to say $1,250? That's my question. I don't know what the rest of the board feels about that, but
That's you're talking about the payment for administrative service.
correct.
From a PBRA perspective,
Mhm.
what was in my mind was about a 20% increase. So just, it's been 5 years, $1,000 was established 5 years ago. And like I said, in my mind, I figured around 20%, so another
1,200.
250.
250 is
We
not
would
gonna,
be totally in agreement with that.
okay.
Or to make, depends if you want to make the numbers even, 20% would be like $200.
Right.
$300 a quarter. It's totally up to you. But
If I did just the 3% per year for 5 years, that's 150, so we're in the ballpark.
So, okay, so, well, I'll entertain a motion there to potentially increase the fee.
Are we looking at
1250,
I'm looking at 1250. I'll make the motion that we increase the fee from the PBRA to 1250 for the leases.
I'll second that motion.
Harry seconds. Any further discussion?
Thank you.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed?
I'll also make a motion that we approve the contract as amended that's been presented to us today.
I'll second.
Joe seconds that motion. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. We have on here. Use of the truck. Of the truck, and I would say I would also include on that there and the trailer. My thoughts here, Mark, just to let you know, well, first of all, I mean, it's all town property. You guys have been maintaining it there, for your use, which is great. My thoughts there, potentially during the winter months or the months there that is not being utilized by the PBRA for public works to potentially have access to the truck and trailer. My thought on that is when we put the sander in the truck, in the small truck, it kind of renders that useless. And they have to pull it back out again there in order to utilize the truck. So I was thinking, well, if we have a windstorm, we have a bunch of limbs down, we have this, that, whatever, some cleanup, that we would have access there to the truck and trailer, we could house that locally here, so.
And first of all, appreciate the town's support and, working with us to allow us to use the equipment and give us that lease. the truck is 23 years old, which is a pretty old truck for being in the state of Vermont. It's getting more and more difficult to obtain parts, just based on its age. What we've done in the past, because like you were saying, our timeframe is summer months. We basically stored away the truck for the winter, kept it away from the salt. So, to limit the rust on the truck. The concern would be from just a pure PBRA perspective is utilizing the truck during the winter months. It
Will kill
opens
it.
it up to, being out on the road with all the salt and sand and all the other stuff. And thinking about the age of it, I think it's gonna deteriorate the truck a lot quicker than it would be if we just put it away for the winter. So
Yeah.
I guess I just express that as a concern and totally.
Well, it's very valid. That's very valid. What about the trailer? Because, I mean, potentially there, we could hook the trailer up. Well, and we can,
Still have to take the
still
sander
gotta take the sander out.
It's a gooseneck trailer though, so I don't know.
Yeah, it's a gooseneck, so that's the problem. Okay. Well, I just throw that out there and, like I said, it doesn't really matter to me. I was just figuring there that potentially there we could have access to something else, but your point is very valid.
And it's really those winter months that's the critical component,
Oh, yeah.
It's just,
Oh, I see it on my truck.
yeah. We've been really cautious about, that particular time frame, just keeping it away from the salt and just trying to, because we have to bring it through inspection every year.
Yeah.
And, that's one of the main components that they look at is rust and, we've been doing pretty good with that so far, but,
Well, I'll just pretend I never said anything. Because it does, that, for your guys' use there, it does make kind of sense there. We'd like to, hold on to something there, and it is an antique, or almost, it's almost an antique.
It is definitely getting up there in age.
It's gonna start going up in value soon.
Yeah, so, okay,
Be a collectible.
Well, I really appreciate that, and for listening to us, and
okay.
understanding our concern.
No, very valid, very valid. Thank you.
And I know, Mark, I talked to you about what good shape the equipment's in, so it's gonna last another, maybe not the truck, but the boat and another 5
Yeah.
years.
Like I think I mentioned the last time I was here that, we have Jay White, that's sort of our
Yeah,
equipment
yeah.
manager, and
Yeah.
he does an excellent job. He goes through, he spends hours and hours of volunteer time to make sure all the equipment is in good condition, and he does a great job of doing that, making sure that.
Okay. Super. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Fire station garage project, RFP for architecture services. And we have project director monthly report, which we have in front of us. Just to let you know on that note there, I have spoken to Don Stewart. And, I recommended there that he comes to the select board, our next select board meeting, because that'll be after the next building committee meeting. And, so we can discuss stuff, and then Don said there that, he will provide a monthly report to the select board. So, you can see here with the RFP. So, one thing that really sticks out in my eyes there is the cost. However, hopefully we can hone that down a bit, once we start getting a little further into this, I think Don Don has guesstimated at this there also from the standpoint there that we don't necessarily get everybody heft up there and say, okay, it's gonna be this price, and then all of a sudden the price starts going way up and up and up. And, the other issue that plays into this there too is these potentially what the tariffs, these new tariffs there are going to do to the cost of materials. So, so if you have any questions there for Don, I would say that, you can call him, call him, email him, whatever. He's very enthusiastic about this project. It's
I'd like
been,
to make a comment if that's.
yeah,
okay.
sure, go right ahead.
So I appreciate his request for proposals, very thorough. The cost is a concern, especially since that's not. I don't look at it as close to what we started with. And how it's going to affect the taxpayers. If we do a bond. So, that's it.
Right.
That's all I have to say.
Yep, yep. Well, I mean, so what he's done there is that's both buildings. You
I know.
But it's still
It's still,
higher. So anyway, but yeah, we will be discussing this at our next committee meeting, correct, Michael? Yeah. And we'll see how much further that he's progressed here, we're talking to people, so. Mike and him did a drive around there to other stations, and he was gonna, he wanted to go visit a couple more.
Yeah, he's gonna be going to Georgia. Done some other inquiries, municipalities that have done. Some public works. Station projects, so he's really. He's really on it. When is the next North Station meeting? 21st? Next Wednesday.
Next Wednesday,
I still don't get emails.
so having said what I said, we still need both buildings,
yes,
Yeah,
so.
no doubt about it.
that we do.
The rest of your concerns. Leaving the fundraising again. Some of that goes into dollars. I'll see it, it's more, and it's pretty intensive. And we're kind of working on it. On a methodical basis to. Do the best we can.
Okay, so we have that and that, so then basically. Any discussion or a motion or whatever there for pre-construction manager authorization, this is just. To basically confirm there that we have taken Don on, which we kind of did, but this is just a signatory thing. For the record, so I'll entertain a motion for me to sign it, if you would like.
I'll make such a motion.
Okay, Harry makes the motion.
Second.
Joe seconds. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed?
Wait, was that the resolution?
That was the regular, that was the one.
Oh, the coin, oh, okay, sorry, I'm really.
This
No,
is-
this was
this
the
is
authorization.
Authorization,
Okay.
this is just me signing this. You
Sorry,
did-
I had just
you said-
included that for FYI, so.
Oh, that was up there. Well, it's
But it's
okay.
fine, motion's never hurt,
Now we have a motion.
so.
I know you love it. So. Okay. Moving on, North Hero Volunteer Fire Department approved the tax exempt note for commercial pumper. And then approve a coin drop. Michael,
Yes.
would you like to speak in a very clear, authoritative voice? Sure.
So back up here, I'll say
try to give you a quick overview. Twenty twenty-three, we started expecting a truck to replace our 28-year-old engine one, which is the frontline pumper. Currently housed at the North Station. So the initial, the initial build price then was, $593,000. We did some research, and to beat certain emissions standards that were coming. And through negotiations, we decided to order the truck to beat those standards, and we were successful. During the process, and working with, the source of emergency projects from, or emergency products from St. Albans and E1, because we had purchased a truck from them in 2022. We were given a discount of $31,556. So at the time of the order, we placed $25,000 down, which earned us also 4% interest while they were sitting in their money. So the projected time frame for the build, and the truck was not due to arrive until 2026. So based on chassis availability, we found out that sometime late January that we were gonna have the truck a year old. So at that point, with the current engine one being down for just about a month and a half for an obsolete alternator and wiring issues. So that was welcome news. So the resolution is a requirement from the IRS. And because we are a nonprofit entity in our own corporation, so that we can, with the requirement, so we can qualify for that nonprofit movement.
Okay.
And coupled with that, on May 19th is noted in there. We're having a public hearing at the North Station, which is also part of the entire.
Okay. Any other questions there for Michael? Or I should say Chief Murdoch. Right, I'll entertain a motion there to accept this resolution here. This is by roll call. So I'll entertain a motion.
My name is Barry Parker. I will make a motion to approve the resolution approving issuance of tax exempt note for the North Hero Volunteer Fire Department Inc.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Joe Latimer seconds. Any further discussion? All right. Carl Rock, I vote. Yes. Joe Latimer,
Yes.
Harry Parker,
Yes.
Claire Lavoie.
Yes, I would like my name to have an E at the end of Claire.
Oh, yeah. Good catch.
I see it a lot.
Tim Bourne,
Yes.
okay. We have 5 yeses. Motion carries.
Thank you, Chief Murdoch.
Yeah.
How many pounds of roast beef that's gonna be?
Okay, so next up there is a request here for the coin drops.
I'll make a motion to approve the coin drop for August 2nd, 25. And with rain date of August 9th of 25 from 7 AM to 1 PM.
All right, Joe makes a motion. Do I have a second?
I will second.
Tim Bourne seconds. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Okay. Okay, on to capital improvement committee recommendation for appointment. We
It's
have.
on the right side of this one.
Oh.
There you go.
Oh, this, okay. We have a recommendation from the capital improvement plan committee. They recommend that we appoint Patricia Sainsbury to the CIP committee for a 2-year term.
I made such a motion.
Second.
Harry makes the motion, Joe seconds the motion. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. Listers update on reappraisal contract.
Yep, my contract is still with Mike Tarrant. Haven't heard anything from him. PBR has reviewed it and seen no issues with it. Everything's there that should be there. Responsibility what the town's gonna do, and what the pilot technology is gonna do, so they were pleased with it. So that's what it is.
Okay.
Great.
With that being said there, since this is the first time I've had you speak, I guess, tonight, so, I have a question on we have a CD coming due.
Yep, that's further down.
Is that further down?
12.
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
I'm working on 4 at a time. Okay,
The stipulation agreement, we discussed it last time and I sent a question to PBR, because I didn't think the numbers were right. And there was a discrepancy, but they chose to let it go the way it is. They ran the appeal numbers using after appraisal numbers and not pre-appraisal numbers. So anybody who filed an appeal was wrong. Record said to let it go. I'm not sure what that means. For us, it doesn't affect the common level of appraisal. It would have changed our coefficient of dispersion. But we are already required to do a reappraisal, so they felt it really wasn't as significant.
but they won't come back and penalize us.
They will not.
Okay,
So Carl signed that agreement before he left. And we submitted it to PBR. We can look, use Dave to figure out what happened.
okay. So, thank you, Lisa. We have the North Station, here it is, North Station Building Replacement Committee, number 2 CD matures on 5/6.
Frank, Cody on the water board, who's very involved in Wall Street and knows what's going on, has been recommending to the water board that we roll the CDs for a month. Gives us less risk, better interest rates. And given that this project is moving ahead with, because the other NSBRC CD is matures in July. So I don't know how soon we're gonna need these funds. It's $328,000. So rolling it for a month, the CD rates are for a month, 3.84, 2 months are 3.87. And then it drops from there. 3 months is 3.84. It just keeps going down, 12 months.
Okay. Well, we are going to need some monies available.
I think we have a couple $100,000 in that
Yeah.
fund. That's not in the CD.
That's not in the secret, so, well, what's the board's pleasure?
I think we should roll it for a month.
Roll it for a month?
Yep.
You wanna make a motion to that effect?
I'll make a motion that we take the NSBRC fund number 2 and roll it for 1 month at 3.84% interest.
Okay.
Claire seconds. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Library roof repair.
I just wanted to let you know that the library roof was repaired. And they have, they had They had planned on the money coming out of their operating budget, so they put it under major projects, so it's not going to be expense, the library building expenses under the general.
Okay.
Work's done and.
Works done.
No leaks? Okay,
I can send you the report if anyone's interested. They took pictures before and after. And fixed files.
yeah, I'm happy. Okay, thank you, Lisa. Okay, at this point in time there, we need to recess this meeting and enter into liquor control.
Make a motion to recess the select board meeting under liquor control. approximately
6:05.
6:05 p.m.
Second.
Joe seconds. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. Okay, now we are entering into liquor control board at 6:05 p.m. In front of us there, we have, along with the,
Yeah, I updated the spreadsheet.
okay, there we go. So in front of us here, we have North Hero Pier LLC. It is a third-class restaurant bar license. They also have an outside consumption permit. They have a third-class hotel license, a first-class hotel license, an outside consumption permit for the steamship pier.
I'll make a motion that we approve the third-class restaurant bar license, outside consumption permit, third-class hotel license, first-class hotel license, and outside consumption permit for North Hero Pier LLC.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Claire seconds. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. We also have in front of us here Drifter's Boathouse, which we,
There's enough there to pass around, Charles.
huh?
No,
There you go. Oh, there's enough to pass around. I just like holding on to a lot of paper. So Drifter's Boathouse is an outside consumption permit, third-class restaurant bar license, a first-class restaurant bar license, and a second-class license.
I'll make a motion to approve the outside consumption permit, third-class restaurant bar license, first-class restaurant bar license, and the second-class license for Drifter's Boathouse.
Did you have the outside consumption? Oh, that's
Mhm.
active. No. Right.
I think I got all four.
You got all
Yeah, there's four.
Okay, sorry about that.
It's okay.
All right, do I have a second to that?
Second.
Claire seconds. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those
Aye.
opposed? Motion carries.
I'll make a motion to adjourn the liquor license, our liquor control board meeting and resume the select board meeting.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Joe seconds.
Approximately 6:08 p.m.
All right, all those are, yeah, I may as well vote on it, right? All those in favor of adjourning the liquor license or liquor control board, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. We are continuing the select board meeting at 6:08 p.m. All right, so under that, we have some correspondence there. If you want to take a look at that, is DRB, and then there's a nice little library note. Public Works. Apparently, the guys have been doing very well, and Caroline Greco is very happy. So at this point in time, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Aaron makes the motion, Joe seconds, all those in favor say aye. Aye, those opposed, motion carries. Thank you all very much. We are adjourned at 6:09 p.m.
Who seconded the adjournment?
Joe.
I did.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Gwen.
Thank you, Gwen.
Okay, you're gonna get it.
I'll get it.
It's whether or not I'll be able to remember it next time.
So I'll remember for you, Joe.
Thank you. It's the teamwork that counts, right?
Right.
Extreme work. Thank you. I will, update the admin fee and the PDRA contract.
Yep.
Not ready, probably not first thing tomorrow.
And Corinne, sorry I kicked you. Had to be a smart ass about it. In the middle of the meeting, I just kind of brushed her.
Yeah.
She's the one that knows.
And meeting, agenda meeting.
I didn't, we're still recording.